They say children from poor families mature early, but who has seen a 10-year-old forced to play both father and mother with her mother remarried and her father working far away? Her small shoulders have shouldered the weight of her two sisters' childhoods. At an age when most children are still pampered by their parents, she has already learned to cook, do laundry, and care for her family. She is just a child herself, yet she has become the sole pillar of our home. The girl's name is Xiaoying, and she is 10 years old. Since her father left for work, the burden of raising her sisters has fallen entirely on her. The second sister is 6, and the youngest is only 4. The mischievous second sister often bullies the youngest down. When Xiaoying sees this, she never scolds them, instead like a mother. She picks up the little one and gently comforts her. Second sister is actually quite sensible. When the youngest wet the bed again last night, she skillfully rolled up the wet mattress to let it air dry. They simply have no spare sheets to change into. Xiaoying starts a fire to roast potatoes, their staple food all year round. Though she's long tired of the bland taste, she must eat when hunger strikes. The second sister helps with the laundry to share the household chores. The biting cold water turns her hands bright red, yet she never utters a complaint. Before leaving, their father left some money with their aunt for their meals, asking her to look after the 3 children. But if they want a bite of hot rice, they must work for their aunt's family in exchange. Xiaoying takes on the heaviest labor, walking several kilometers a day just to dump out heavy loads of mud. The second sister also struggles to herd the pigs into the pen. Meanwhile, the aunt's son only needs to stay warm by the fire and watch TV, because in that region, the preference for boys remains deeply ingrained. These sisters work with exceptional diligence at their aunt's house, laboring tirelessly, not daring to utter a single word of complaint. They know all too well that if they aren't hard-working, there won't be a next meal. After a grueling morning, it's finally time to eat, but they aren't allowed at the table. They can only squat in the corner, wanting her sisters to eat a bit better. Xiaoying carefully picks up a piece of fatty meat and places it in her sister's bowl. When she tries to take a second piece, she is harshly scolded by her aunt. She still insists on handing the meat to her other sister. After that, Xiaoying doesn't dare take any more, silently eating only the plain white rice in her bowl. The second sister chews that single piece of meat for a long time, unable to bring herself to swallow it. After the meal, they must herd the pigs up the mountain to graze. On the Yunnan Plateau, at 3,200 meters, a thick morning mist blankets the land. The biting cold leaves the 3 sisters shivering uncontrollably. Then the second sister's frostbite cracks open, it bleeds, and the pain is excruciating. The older sister takes some tin foil from a cigarette pack and presses it onto the wound. This is the only medical treatment they have. When the foil falls off, the second sister uses her own saliva to stick it back on. Because their hair hasn't been washed in so long, the youngest sister's head and clothes are crawling with lice, which the eldest sister patiently picks off, one by one. When it is time, the 3 sisters herd the heavy pigs back home. But the work doesn't end there. Cutting pigweed, washing potatoes, preparing pig feed, collecting fodder, the chores are never ending. Finally, at dinner time, while their aunt's children are eating, watching TV, Xiaoying and her sisters can only look on longingly from afar. The youngest sister is salivating with hunger, yet once again, there is no food for them tonight. Xiaoying could only lead her sisters back home in silence. The urine-soaked bedding was still damp, and the 2 younger sisters were too disgusted to get into bed. Exhausted after a long day, Xiaoying finally reached her breaking point and snapped at them. Only then did the 2 little ones settle down and drift off to sleep. Early the next morning, the middle sister was back at the wash basin, but her hands were so small that all she could do was press down hard on the clothes in the basin. Aching for her sister, Xiaoying hurried over to take over the chore. She sternly told her never to touch the freezing water again. While washing, Xiaoying's Jifang shoes had already become soaking wet. The water was so numbing that she couldn't wring the clothes dry, so she had to hang them up dripping wet. After the laundry, the eldest sister quickly built a fire and took off her shoes to toast them dry.
That's better. That's better. Wow. 了。
The sight of her small mud-caked feet is truly heartbreaking. Breakfast was the usual roasted potatoes. Even so, the three sisters ate with great appetite. After eating, they headed to the village entrance to meet their father, who was returning today. They waited at the village entrance for a long time, until finally, the figure they had yearned for day and night appeared. After so much time apart, the three girls crowded around their father, chattering away. With their father home, the house finally began to feel like a real home again. Early the next morning, Xiaoying ran to the garden to pick the largest head of cabbage and scrubbed the long-neglected dining table clean. The whole family sat together for a meal, though it was only noodles with cabbage. It was the first time they truly looked like a family. The father returned this time with the intent of sending Xiaoying to school, but the price of her education was that the two younger sisters would have to leave with him. Before long, the father boarded a bus with the two younger ones, and Xiaoying finally stepped onto a school campus, though she was assigned to the very last row for her. This was the best arrangement possible. The school gate is bustling after class, surrounded by the snacks that every child craves. This is a world Xiaoying has never known. While her classmates have money to buy them, she can only watch longingly from the side as a light rain falls. Xiaoying's dinner is once again just potatoes. Her father gave her 1 yuan before leaving, but she can't bring herself to spend it. Yet she is so curious about what the spicy strips at the school gate taste like, so she pulls out a discarded snack bag she found and licks it little by little, tasting the chili oil lingering inside. In the pitch-black shack, her lonely silhouette is a truly heartbreaking sight. She used to have her sisters for company, but now that they are gone, there isn't even anyone to talk to. On weekends, she joins her grandfather to herd sheep. He has done this for others for years, just to get by. The old man and the young girl have almost nothing to say, simply huddle around a fire in silence for warmth. To earn money for snacks, Xiaoying heads to the mountain early to gather pine cones. The shelled pine nuts can be sold in town for a little pocket money, but on her way back, a little girl suddenly blocks her path. Emboldened by her mother's support, the girl acts aggressively toward her. It turns out Xiaoying had once hit her while trying to protect her own younger sister. Today the girl wants revenge. Seeing her mother there, Xiaoying can only bow her head and apologize. Returning home to endless loneliness, she has to swallow the bitterness of the recent encounter all by herself. Without her parents by her side, she has nowhere to turn even when she wants to cry. As the Lunar New Year approaches, her father returns from his migrant work. His meager wages were simply not enough to support the two sisters in the city, so he decided to stay home to farm and take proper care of all three children. Dad's return brought warmth back to this cold home. He also brought back a stepmother, though the family remained poor and lacked lavish meals. As long as they could be together every day, no matter the hardship, they felt a sense of happiness. With his savings, Dad bought a few goats, finally bringing new hope to their lives. But the stepmother was unkind to the three sisters, only washing her own children's clothes, leaving the three sisters' laundry for Xiaoying to handle alone. The stepmother's arrival brought no warmth, only verbal and physical abuse over the slightest things. To a child's eyes, this documentary captures a cross-section of an era, reflecting labor migration, family dissolution, and the fragility and resilience of those at the grassroots. It speaks of kinship, survival, and childhood, while reminding us to care for the well-being of rural children. Though merely a child herself, she has met life's hardships with maturity and strength. May these three girls be treated with kindness for the rest of their lives.